She's an award-winning YouTuber and best-selling author obsessed with helping you go after the life you want.
I like it.
Join her as she seeks out the stories and strategies
Give me every little detail.
of extraordinary people who found success.
I'm going to get emotional. Oh my God.
Welcome to Detail Therapy with Amy Landino.
Good morning, good life. Welcome back to Detail Therapy. In this episode, we're getting into the details about reflecting on 2021. I've got 10 questions for you that you are going to want to sit down and pontificate, maybe with a little cup of coffee and a notebook, maybe a Good Morning, Good Life planner. How can we reflect on 2021 so that we can start planning for a fabulous 2022? If you're new here, hello, my name is Amy Landino and I will be your host. I am your productive lifestyle and success coach and founder of Gatlu House, a resource dedicated to helping you go after the life you want. You can see all of our work. We make videos, we got blog posts, we've got a lot of amazing stuff coming in the new year. And of course, the show notes for this podcast at detailtherapy.online. All right, let's dive in. 10 questions to reflect on 2021 so that you can start planning for 2022. My first question for you, as you think about the last 12 months, what are you most proud of? Think about the successes that you've had. What has happened that you can truly say, okay, even though we'd have a tendency to think about the negative a little bit too much, reframe what went right, what got me closer to my big goal, my big dream. Really make a list of these things because we often let them fall off. We forget to celebrate. We don't keep track of the important positives that happen because of how many negatives seem to be triple or quadruple the weight of something good. In reflection, we have to know if we set out to do something, did it happen? How did it happen? How were we able to stay focused to make it happen? If we don't give ourselves that credit, it's very, very easy to forget about these things. So what are you the most proud of? Where were you successful? Even if this list has just one thing on it, you brought that one thing home. You need to give yourself that credit, have permission to celebrate it, and then try to figure out what was it about this one thing that made it possible for me to have a success at all, and how can I maybe take some of that into my future for how I'm going to be able to be successful in a couple more things during my new year in turn. Second question for you. When did you have the most fun? When did you enjoy things the most? Yet another very, very important positive that we lose track of. We get so overwhelmed by what the workload is. We get so overwhelmed by going after that success or getting that achievement or trying to make a certain amount of money or trying to make everyone happy. And we're trying to find these little successes in our life and they burn us out and they make us crazy. And 2021 was already kind of this like crazy, weird hangover of a year after all that 2020 put us through. As we see where we are at this point, even with all the tumultuous circumstances and things that have gone on, did you have fun? What did you enjoy? It's funny, I've always had to reflect on this very, very, very focused in my own day-to-day life because I won't be able to say like what I like to do for fun, or I don't really think I have a hobby, or I'll point to things that I enjoy as a guilty pleasure. Why is watching The Real Housewives a guilty pleasure? Okay. No one ever says it's a guilty pleasure for a man to sit on a couch for 12 hours on a Sunday to watch football. It's not a guilty pleasure. It's something I enjoy. That's something that made me feel like I was having fun. It helped me take my mind off the seriousness of life. There were times when I got to travel with my husband. That was fun. What was fun about that? There were some parts of that that were stressful, but what were the fun parts of that? If I can't point back to the moments that I had true joy, a real smile on my face, we got big problems, right? And that in and of itself needs to be taken into our future with the thought process of we want more happiness. The entire point of why we're here in existence, this human experience, is to seek happiness. And some of the hard work we're going to do is going to contribute to that. But if we can't have a little bit of fun along the way, then we're really throwing away our time. So, not just what are you most proud of and where were you successful, but when did you have the most fun? Because for some of us who have a hard time taking ourselves less seriously, maybe just those fun moments were a huge success in and of themselves. Keep track of those positive moments. Do not feel guilty about feeling great in those moments. Remember that the more you know about them, the more they might be true for you in the future because you'll actually seek them out. Third question, where did you fail? Where did you fail? And this one's going to be easy for all of us, right? Oh, let me give you the list, honey. I can tell you how I failed. I just, so many things are keeping me up at night because they didn't go as planned. And we like to point at a lot of outside circumstances that contribute to failure. That's not to say that that's not true. There are probably lots of outside circumstances that cause you to fail in some way, shape, or form. But don't just have a tendency to blame outside of yourself for failures. And also don't come down on yourself so hard for what it really is on you. The entire purpose of this question is not to go into depression, but it is to honestly and objectively reflect. Where did you fail? Because if you failed at something, whether it was a project that never ended up coming to a close and never got launched, or it was a job you really wanted and you didn't get it, if you failed in some way, it is a sign of the fact that you tried. It is a sign that you knew what you wanted in that moment. So much so that you took a chance, you took action, you moved forward. And you know what? Ultimately, there may have been what would be categorized as a failure in the end. But just because we're going to write this down or look at it and say, I failed here, does not mean, again, that we're dragging ourselves over the coals. It is to look at it and say, well, what did I learn from that? Am I so bummed out about the fact that that was the case, that I failed? And I want to try again because I feel like it's truly meant for me. I don't think this is the end of that story. Great. That is what we need to reflect on. Did you fail at something that never actually meant anything to you in the first place, and somehow you just got started down that path for the wrong reasons? Great. Reflect on that. No matter what is in the answer column of any of these questions, they need to indicate to you who you are today in turn. Do you still value the same things? Have those things changed? So don't get down on yourself with this question. Just look at what would we honestly categorize as a failure? What was it that caused the failure? Because the answer to that is movement. The answer to that is action. The answer to that is taking a chance. Would you do it again? Would you try again? What would you do differently? Fourth question, did your theme for 2021 ring true? I need this question every single day because if I go back and I look at all my bullet journaling, all my Good Morning Good Life plannering, all of my Rome research pages, if I look at the aspirational vision for my life, the plans I made, the goals I had, I can honestly say that my theme for 2021 worked out beautifully. Now, it's funny because if I did not look at this question and look at my notes and look, this is why we write the goals down, right? Because we want to be able to say, did it happen or not? Did we stay focused on it or not? Because otherwise, if I just sit here in a vacuum and I go, oh, 2021 kind of sucked, guys, not going to lie. Like a lot of things just like didn't go that great. a lot of things may not have gone that great. A lot of things may have gone just fine. A lot of things may have worked out cool. But if I look at what was the theme for my year, what was my word of the year, what was my main goal of the year, all of that happened. So where your energy is focused, that is where we're going to see the most success. So even though we'd love it if the whole world, everything sunshine and rainbows went great, that's not going to happen. So can we at least say that our biggest goals, our biggest focus of the year was able to make some movement in our life? That is what this is all about. So be honest with yourself. There may have been things that didn't go great. There may have been interruptions or unexpected circumstances, things that just were traumatic. Maybe you lost someone. Maybe something terrible happened in your financial life. Maybe your family's not doing well and relationships are strained. Maybe there's some things that aren't going right. But what was your theme of the year? What was your big moment that you needed for yourself? What was that big win you needed this year? I'll tell you, for me, it was my health. I cannot point to any particular health issues that I have. Just a couple of things, getting older, things change. And I learned a little bit about my thyroid and I was like, okay, I got to work on that. But we had been trying to have a baby and it wasn't working. And I had to look at myself at the beginning of this year and say, is this just because I can't have one? Or does this actually mean a lot to me and Vincenzo and our life together and who we're going to be as we grow our family together? Is this actually important to us? Or is it just us and maybe a dog or two for the future? And when we sat down and we talked about it, our health, making sure that we were doing the best we could to take care of our body first, needed to be the theme, the most important thing for 2021. Because if nothing else, it was helping us to be able to live as well as possible on our own and ultimately take care of the vessel that helped us to become pregnant. We had to look at it as, okay, that's a goal of ours. That's a really important thing to us. And in order for us to continue to work toward making that happen with the information that we have at this moment about ourselves, we need to take better care of ourselves if we want that to be the case. I'm very, 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 very fortunate that the work we put in this year, that being our theme, that being our goal, getting more sleep, eating a little bit better, doing a little bit different stuff in terms of movement of our bodies, that helped our theme ring true for 2021 for us and ultimately allowed our ultimate goal to come to fruition. Again, we're very, very, very fortunate because there's a lot of families that doesn't happen just by a change of the diet or whatever. It comes down to a lot of other things, but our theme rang true. So what I can say is, what did we fail at? What are we most proud of? There was one big win this year that we can look at and say, wow, that's going to change the rest of our lives. We can't chalk 2021 up to a loss because we were able to focus our energy in that direction and move it forward. So do not write off these things that, if you have to classify as the biggest, most important wins you'll have this year, even if you can't win in every other way, that's good. That means you're doing it right. You can't have 100 wins. You've got to put all your energy into the one thing as much as possible to see it through. And some other things are going to have to compromise in the meantime for that to happen. So in this case, did your theme, did your word of the year, did your big overarching important goal to move your life forward ring true this year? Yes or no? Pay attention to that. Question number 5, what lessons did you learn that you can take into the new year? Things like, what are you going to do differently? Do you have any regrets? I really hate the word regret, but we have them a lot. I don't like to stew on regrets personally, but You know, if you have a lot of regrets, that means that maybe there's a little bit too much people pleasing going on, or maybe there's too much lack of focus and you're not zeroing in on the one theme or the one thing that's the most important to you. When you have a lot of regrets, that means you would go back in time and do things differently. That can be a positive going forward, but we can't live in the past. We have to take that into the future. That information is otherwise completely meaningless if we don't do something with it. So, what are the lessons you learn? You know the phrase, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Why? Because we have got to see this stuff coming on some point, right? You need to know when the lessons are there for you to learn. You can sit there, be disappointed. You can blame outside sources. You can say you had too many interruptions. People don't let you do your thing. People don't let you focus. You can say, I didn't see that coming because I didn't know any better. That's fine. But once you know better, do better. Once you know better, you need to do better. So just objectively, this isn't about bringing us down. What lessons have you learned this year that you can take into next year? What would you go back and tell the 6 to 12 month younger version of yourself right now so that they might not make that mistake this year, but they did. And that experience is invaluable because you can take it into the future and do something better with it. Let's take just a moment so I can tell you about our sponsor, and that's our friends over at Ana Luisa. One thing you may not know about me is that I just live for a bold fashion moment. Unfortunately, I just don't have a lot of time to research putting looks together. This is why I love shopping with Ana Luisa. They are your one-stop shop for jewelry that delivers on that wow factor, unbeatable quality, and fair prices that don't derail the budget. Not only do they have new collections released every Friday, but their timeless sustainable pieces never go out of style. I recently went with the Michelle set for a little bit of a statement piece because of the gorgeous layers and texture it has going on. Let me tell you. The quality is incredible. If you want something that's like a little bit simpler but still chic, the Ana Gold necklace is where it's at. But no matter which piece you pick, you're going to be stepping out in style. Pop over to your browser and go to shop.analuisa.com/detail therapy so that you can take advantage of our special discount of 10% off your jewelry purchase. That's shop.analuisa.com/detail therapy, where you'll find fabulous options that start from just $39. You can easily find the link to get 10% off when you head to our show notes of this episode of Detail Therapy, but I'll go ahead and spell it for you one more time. That's shop.analuisa.com/detail therapy for fabulous jewelry options that wow from day to night, no matter where you're headed in going after the life you want. Question number 6, where do you wish you spent more of your time? This is actually a question that I not only look at the end of the year, I look at this one at the end of a week, at the end of a day, at the end of a month, because the more I can point to the things I'm spending my time on that feel like a complete and utter waste and take me away from the needle moving, life building, exciting, happy things, I want to get rid of that stuff as much as I can. Absolutely, to the greatest of your ability, right? So where do you wish you spent more of your time? The word wish to me, I think you could go either way on this. I think it's a good one because we like to make wishes all the time, right? When we see somebody has a situation that's just, wonderful and looks like it's just the perfect world, we always say like, oh yeah, I wish I had it like that. It's okay to have that mentality as long as you actually wish for something and you'll actually potentially do something about it. So where do you wish you spent more of your time? Do you wish it was more with your family? Do you wish you were not working as much? Do you wish you were working on your hobby more? Do you wish you were spending more time moving your body? Do you wish you were spending more time writing that book? What do you wish you were spending more time on? What I find particularly interesting about this question when you ask it on a very regular basis is when you see the same thing coming up all the time. Like if you can say, I genuinely feel I can write this down about 2021 because I would have said this at the end of every day, at the end of every week of that year as well. I know that's important to me. It's important to me because it's important to me. It's at the front of my brain, but for whatever reason, it is not at the front of my schedule. And so there's a conflict there because when it is not being done, it's important to you, but it's not getting done. All it's doing is becoming a guilt trip in your mind rather than a focused energy of execution in your mind. So what do you wish you were spending more time on? That thing that continues to resonate with you. They're like, oh, I wish I was doing that. Oh, I wish I had time for that. Okay, well, it's on you. It is on you. You can continue to blame outside circumstances. You can continue to say your lifestyle doesn't look like someone else's, so it's not as easy for you. You can continue to do that. You can continue to wish. You can continue to dream. Wishes and dreams are wonderful. They give us vision. They give us ideas. They give us a place we can go in our minds that is positive and not bringing us down. But we have to do something with that information. So don't just think about what you wish. Do something about it. But it's okay. Just make the list for now. If you've never really reflected on this question specifically, what would you have done differently for the last year where you wish you would have spent more of your time? The most precious asset you will ever have is your time. Question number 7. What do you want to start doing? This is a little bit of a reflection question, but also now we're looking a little bit more into the future. Okay. What do we want to start? Maybe it's very closely related to the question before it, number 6, where you wanted to spend more of your time. What will you start doing? Remember to stay very actionable and very focused on your answer to this. Okay. If you want to start running every day of your life, that's a bit big. That's a big ask. That's big. It may not seem big. It may seem like, oh no, that's pretty cut and dry. Like I put my shoes on, I go outside and I'm going to run. Okay. Yes, I would agree. But that's a big ask of yourself if you have not been doing it at all. Right? I wish I was working out more. I've always wanted to be a runner. I've always wanted to train for a half marathon or whatever the case, right? Okay. So instead of I'm going to start running every day, you could say, I'm going to start putting my running shoes on every day and walking outside. Just asking yourself to take a very small action, so small it's ridiculous, will move you forward way faster than the very presumptuous, overwhelming task of I'm going to go for a run every day. So many questions unanswered with that. But something in the minutia as much as I'm going to put my shoes on with my workout gear probably, but who cares if you even do that? I'm going to put my shoes on. I'm going to walk outside in my running shoes. You may find once you get out there that it's such a small thing you couldn't help, but let's get a little pace here. Let's see how it feels. Because now the pressure is not on to do the whole thing right now, but to just feel it. What are you going to start doing? Be very pointed, be very specific, be very forgiving of what that's going to be. Question number 8, what are you going to stop doing? What are you going to stop doing? Look back at those lessons learned. Look back at those failures. What are you beating your head against the wall for that just doesn't do it for you? That isn't even really that important to you at the end of the day. Maybe it's something that was meant to please somebody else, and yet they are never happy. They are never going to be. They love you just the same. They like you just the same. And you doing that thing that you think is going to check the box with X number of people or those close to you, they might like it, but they're never going to give you that big permission and feeling of acceptance that you were hoping it was going to be. And you've now come to terms with that. So you're going to stop doing it. Or maybe it's nothing like that at all. Maybe you have a very bad habit. Maybe you know you do. Maybe it's like affecting your health. Maybe it's affecting your relationships. Maybe it's affecting how you start the day on your terms. I'm looking at you, Instagram scrollers, the moment that you hit your alarm. What are you going to stop doing? Find a way to make it harder. This is fundamentally the easiest thing for you to do. Make this list. I'm trying to keep this not too preachy and telling you what to do. But if you really want to start working toward this list right now, say, forget 2022, I'll do this. I will stop doing this now because I think it would save my life. Just tell me what I got to do. If you want to stop doing something, you need to make it harder. If you want to stop snacking, get rid of the snacks. Stop buying them. If you want to stop scrolling your phone the second your eyes open in the morning, stop putting your phone next to your bed. I love you guys who say, but my phone is my alarm, so I absolutely need it. That's cool. That's the easiest excuse in the book. Easiest excuse in the book. You can buy an old school alarm clock that's going to get your butt out of bed every day on Amazon for a couple dollars. And guess how much of your brain space and your thought process, your peace of mind, your lessened anxiety that you're going to get for that. Okay, so if you want to stop doing something, you've got to find a very specific way to make it harder. Just make it a little harder. We're not going to reach for a bottle of beer if it's at the bottom of the refrigerator instead of in the middle. It's a fundamental small shift. So what are you going to stop doing? And then go above and beyond and try to decide how you're going to make it harder. Question number 9. What do you want to continue doing? Give yourself some freaking credit, man. You just got through another year. We just got through all of this crazy pandemic mess where it's not over yet, but we do kind of have a general idea of how to handle ourselves as we navigate through it. And everyone's going to have their own personal decision when it comes to that. But regardless of all of those circumstances and all of those things, what you did positively this year, even if you didn't get all the way to your goal, but you moved it forward, what are you going to continue to do? What are you going to continue doing? Because it means something to you. And because you're committing to continuing it, it's still at the top of your list of things to schedule, to calendar block, to prioritize in your life. Something that I'm going to continue doing that I started at the beginning of the year, just to kind of give you an example, as I was contributing to this theme of health in my life, I started seeing a doctor who said, well, what if you slept without an alarm clock? And I actually took it quite personally. You guys have probably heard this story. I took it personally because there are so many people who can't live their lives that way. And I thought, I've always had an alarm clock. I like waking up at a certain time. But what that allowed me to do was get the amount of sleep that my body was asking me for. And I do have the circumstances in my life, the way I've designed my life, my business, and my world, that I can sleep for the most amount of time if I really want to. And I can reverse engineer my evenings and my nights in order to be able to do that. So something I'm going to be continuing in 2022 is sleeping to the greatest of my ability rather than putting an arbitrary time on what time I'm going to wake up in the morning. Mostly, do you know why I'm doing that? Because I'm pregnant and having a baby, and there's going to be a point where I'm not sleeping anymore. So I'm going to be taking advantage of sleep to the greatest of my ability, because now I realize I'm kind of in the home stretch on the whole good for you, Amy, you can sleep a lot kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Plus, I don't know, my sleep might change in the third trimester. Who cares? Who knows? But anyway, that's something I'm going to continue to do because I'm not going to scrimp on that now, knowing that it's in my future is likely going to change. So just one example of something I'm going to continue, even though I'm like, oh, I really miss waking up before the sun and the 5 a.m. and the time I had to myself. Like, it's not the season for that for me. And I know that I'm making the smart health decision for my peace of mind and for preparing for the next chapter of my life in doing that. My final question for you: what theme for 2022 is going to help you in moving toward the life you want? Did your theme for 2021 ring true? We asked that question already. Number 4. So as you think about that, if it didn't ring true and it's like, why? It's still so important to me. It's still something that means so much to me. And I just didn't do the work. I didn't let my focus flow there. Then maybe that's the theme for 2022 as well. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's just that your priorities have changed. Maybe that things are different. Maybe you are ready for that next stage. Maybe 2021 did come through for your theme and you're ready for the next. What is it that's important to you going into the next year? Because as we talk in the next couple of weeks about resolutions and new goals and setting deadlines and doing the real work it takes to make things happen for yourself, inspired by a vision, we need to get clear on that vision. Don't go straight in on the running and the sleep and the spend more time with family. Yes, all those things sound great. You've got to get clear on your why. And I think you can fully start to wrap your mind around that, especially in these next couple final weeks of the year. Like, what is going to be my big focus for next year? So that every time I ask myself, am I going to set that goal? Am I going to have that resolution? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? Does it go back to what's important to me? Because what's important to me is at the front of my mind all the time. Good, bad, and ugly. What's important to you? What is your theme for 2022? I want to know your answer to question number 10. Come over to Instagram at Details Podcast. Please tell me what your theme is for 2022. For me, health is like kind of like a side note. Health was my theme for 2021. For 2022, it is family, because family is now the meaning of that. It's changing for me. It's changing for me a lot. And so I need to be able to look at everything else in my life and say, if this is not contributing to me starting our family on the best foot forward, I have to let it take a backseat. I do. It doesn't mean we don't have goals for the company. It doesn't mean we don't have goals professionally. It doesn't mean we don't have goals in a couple of other areas of our lives, but we have to let something give somewhere. And I know for a fact that my focus is going to be on family in 2022. And so I have to remind myself of that. I have to give myself permission to not need all things and be great at all things in 2022 at the same time. Come over to Detail Therapy on Instagram at Details Podcast. Tell me what your theme of 2022 is, or if you're still working out, what are your thoughts? What are your questions? Are you in between two of them? Is there some way that we can help you work through that? Come over there. The community is amazing, and I know that we can help each other. I want to give another big shout out to the sponsor of this episode of Detail Therapy, and that is our friends over at Ana Luisa Jewelry. It is that time of year that we are able to save on some really fabulous pieces. So check them out. They're starting at $39 with sales up to 25% off. So if you're still searching for that perfect holiday gift, you've got to check out Ana Luisa. I will link to it in the show notes, but you can go to analuisa.com/detail therapy for more. That is all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. Remember, subscribe for good vibes, kiss the ones you love, and go after the life you want. Here is to a fabulous 2022. See you back here next time. Cheers.